What is going on, gamers? Today we're going to go ahead and talk about something that's very essential and very important, especially important for you to learn early on, and that is how to stay protected. Now, there's many different ways for you to do this, but we're going to go ahead and try to keep it as simple as possible and as efficient as possible. Now, as some of you already know, the best way really to stay protected in this game is through shields, because no matter what happens, nobody can really touch your castle while you have a shield on. So there's many different shields from 4 hours all the way up to like 14 days, etc. The only problem with shields, especially early on, but it can actually work for any level, is that their cost is actually quite high. You go from 8 hours, that's 500 gems, to 24 hours, 1,000 gems, etc, etc. That's actually a very high cost, especially if you start doing this every single day. That is going to add up, especially early on, where you're probably not going to have a lot of gems. You're probably not going to be getting a lot of good gifts from the guild, but there is a different way that you can actually go about protecting yourself. Now, of course, if you're in a good guild, that's an active guild, and that are consistently hunting monsters, whether that's level 1s, 2s, 3s, etc., then you have a very high chance of getting daily shields, but the success rate of that is probably not going to be very high, so I wouldn't be counting on that every single day. Now let's just go ahead and go over a few different ways that you can make sure to stay protected. Of course, the first one, as we went over on the previous video, is just to shelter your troops. You got your shelter right here, which you can use for 12 hours at a time, and if you come in every couple of hours, just reset your shelters and you'll be good to go for 12 hours. Now, the problem with that is that if you have more troops than you can shelter, then a lot of people just leave those troops out, and they don't realize that there's actually a few different ways that you can go about hiding those troops and keeping yourself protected. Now, the first method is what's called a fake rally. So essentially, when you go over here to one of these castles, just find any castle on the map, and then you go ahead and you hit rally attack, and you put it for 8 hours because you want to protect your troops for as long as possible. You go to 8 hours, and then either you can auto select heroes or you don't. It doesn't really matter. But if you do select heroes, it is going to add to the amount of troops that you can deploy. So I would suggest you do. Most likely you won't have your leader, because obviously your leader should be sheltered. So let's just go ahead and just add 5 random heroes, right? And then for me, that's going to help me hide 250,000 more troops. Now, of course, that can depend on your castle level, etc., about the amount of troops that you can actually send out. But that is 250,000 troops additionally to the sheltered troops that I have. So that's already 2 different ways that you can go ahead and protect your troops. Now, an additional way that you can go ahead and protect yourself is just to reinforce guildmates that are around you, especially the ones that have a shield on, either really high might players or ones that have a shield. So once you go ahead and you go reinforce, you can let's just go ahead and say that I'm going to send ancient drake riders, right? And then you're going to see that it's going to go over here. So once my troops reach their castle, they're going to be under their shield. So not only am I sheltered, not only am I doing a fake rally, but I can actually start sending troops to guildmates that are around me that are shielded. Now, this does come with a bit of a risk though, and this is why it's always important for you to ask in your guild first before you reinforce somebody. Because essentially what happens is, if you reinforce somebody, and let's say after I reinforce him, he ports somewhere, that's going to automatically send my troops back. And if I'm not online, that means that my troops are just going to be out in the open. Additionally, if you reinforce them and their shield drop and they get attacked, that means that your troops also got attacked. So ideally, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you find somebody in your guild that maybe set a 24-hour shield not too long ago, etc., or maybe has a long shield, and they can go ahead and let you reinforce them. But just keep in mind that when you're reinforcing people, it does come with its own risk. Now, if you're sheltering your troops, if you're reinforcing, if you're fake rallying, that can potentially hide a lot of troops for you. and it's a great way of making sure that your troops are safe. But what if your troops are safe, but you still have many resources out? Now, there is something that you want to pay attention to, and that is right here, your vault. Make sure that you take into consideration the max protected of each resource, and also keep in mind that until you get it to level 25, it will not protect your gold. So one way to go ahead and make sure that you always protect your resources is just simply to use them. If you're going to be using a construction or research, etc., just use enough of your bags to start that research or that construction, and then after you log off, you're gonna have no resources, and it's just gonna start accumulating for the next time that you need to start a research or a construction, which early on is probably gonna be fairly consistent, maybe a couple of hours, maybe a couple of minutes, depending on what exactly you're building. But let's say that you've already started your construction, you already started your research, trained your troops, etc., etc., and you still have a couple of million, maybe 10, 20 million, whatever the case may be, on your resources. What do you do then? Essentially, the best case scenario for you then would be to either make sure that you're using your cargo ship and making sure that you are exchanging any excess resource for either speed ups or other resources for the bags. If you've already done all of that though, the best next thing is to go ahead and just send it to your guild's bank. Not only is making sure that the bank has enough resources always good for the guild in general, but it's going to be protecting your resources for maybe when you need it later on. Now, if this is a guild that's run correctly and a bank that's run correctly, when you do need resources, they'll be able to go ahead and help you out. It's definitely much better than having an enemy steal your resources, because you're definitely not gonna get it then. But if you send it to the bank, not only are you helping yourself and you're not helping your enemies, but you're also going to be helping your guild. But yeah, hopefully some of these tips can go ahead and help you stay protected in the long run. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and until later. Bye.